Hey everyone, it's me, Kine. Alright, so this video is going to be a sewing tutorial on this outfit that I'm wearing right here, but it's a little bit of a different one from my other sewing tutorials if you've watched them, because I'm not making this from scratch. I actually went to the thrift store and got a pair of jeans, and I've upcycled those, so I cut off the legs and made this bra out of the pants, so that's pretty much the summary of this video to make a long story short. Lots of you guys have requested for me to do this sort of thrift store transformation, so to speak, so I've decided to challenge myself, and hopefully this can turn into a sort of series on my channel. Anyway, this is the look. I've been wanting like a really slutty pair of short shorts in my closet anyway, so I'm gonna spend half of this video showing you guys how to distress the shorts and fray them and bleach them and everything, and then I'm gonna spend the other half showing you guys how to make this bra. If you've got like a lot going on up here, you can opt to use some extra fabric. I got this for $4 at the thrift store. This is this really cool like fish print. This is actually a shower curtain. I did use this to cheat a little bit and line the inside of this band. So just a tiny little square of fabric. And I mean, you can make like a bandana out of it. You can make a little jacket, a handkerchief to add a little bit extra to accent your outfit with a little accessory. So that's an option for you, but I'm gonna add all the materials in the description box for you guys to check out. Anyway, without further ado, let's just jump into the video. Okay guys, so this is a pair of pants I got at the thrift store. First of all, you obviously need something that fits you, and you've got to be happy with the belt loops and buttons and zippers. I have pretty low standards, so it wasn't too hard to find that. I probably should have gotten something high-waisted in order to cover up my leggings, but alas, I'm just gonna cinch it in with a belt later and tuck my tights down. So put it on and mark on one leg where you want to cut to make these into shorts. And for me, I want to cut mine quite high because I'm a whore, but I don't want to cut into my pocket. So I have to cut into the pocket where it's sewn into the seam of the pants. And now I can start to cut off the legs and take that cut a bit higher than I would have been able to before. You might want a different cut on the front and back, so maybe don't cut both layers at once. I tried to dodge the back pocket with the cut on the back, and if you do one leg first, you can just overlay it on the second leg to get a symmetrical look. Here I'm sewing the pocket shut again, since when I cut into it, it left a hole. You don't have to keep your pockets, or you can sew them smaller so they don't peek out of your shorts, but I like pockets, they're really handy. I tried these shorts on and decided they were a little long for my liking and they needed to be a little bit skimpier, so I went in with a seam ripper and I ripped out the back pocket so I could cut the shorts higher. And then that leaves us with these two ugly squares where the fabric wasn't bleached on the back, but we can sort of disguise this later on with the bleach and with the distressing of the shorts. I'm gonna do that later on. I'm gonna take a break for now and move on to the bra, so set the shorts aside and fetch the pant legs that you cut off. This is the bra pattern I'm using. I printed these templates off from online. I'll link them down below, but I made my own modifications to them to add a 1/2 inch of seam allowance, and I curved out the straight edge. So the two curved edges on the patterns fit together like this, so that length should be the same, and that's the most important part of this. For reference, if you're using these, I scaled mine up so that the larger pattern piece is 7.5 inches tall. Taking one of the pant legs, I'm cutting out this thick side seam because I realized it was thick enough for me to use as bra strap. So I'm cutting it out with a little bit of slack on the side so that I can fold that under and sew it to make a clean edge, but I'll get into that later on. I don't know what possessed me to get these jeans with these ugly ass stars on them. Like, I don't know why I just didn't get plain jeans. I later on ended up actually thinking they were kind of cute and I wanted to highlight them on the bra. So I folded the pant leg lengthwise, and I'm figuring out how I want to place my pattern pieces to capture the star in one of them, but waste as little space as possible so that I can use as much of the jean as possible. You need to cut out 4 of each piece, 2 backs and 2 fronts, because there's a left boob, right boob, and an outer layer and inner layer. So if you cut 2 layers at once, you need to do this twice. And I managed to get all my pattern pieces out of one pant leg, so we can use the second pant leg to make the strap that goes around your underbust. When you cut out both pieces, that should give you a left and a right. So face the 2 different pattern pieces right sides together along that shorter curved edge, and it should look like that, and you should get a mirrored pair. One of these pairs is going to be the left and right outside, and when you do this again to make another 2 copies, that's going to be the left and right lining layer on the inside. This is where I realized I messed up because I wanted my stars both to be on the outside, but the 2 star pieces I cut out both ended up being left boob pieces. I needed to pay more attention to the way that the pattern pieces were facing, so I had to take the second pant leg. Again, I kept that side seam to save it for later, and I figured that since all that's left for me to do is make a strap that goes around my underbust, I could spare some extra fabric and cut out another star piece so that I have a star on my right boob. That's a mistake on my part. If you're using jeans that don't have a specific design you're trying to capture, you don't really need to think as much about this. Anyway, after pinning the pieces together, you should have a total of 4 pieces. Each piece is 2 pattern pieces pinned together. You'll have 2 left boobs and 2 right boobs. I don't know how else to put it to you. So I'm sewing it along that curved edge with a straight stitch and white thread on a 1/2 inch of seam allowance. And the shape you'll get is this sort of curved triangle. The reason I don't just cut out triangles from the get-go is because that middle seam there gives the illusion of fuller boobs. Even if you're flat-chested like me, cutting out the pieces this way and having that middle seam gives the bra a little bit of a 3D vibe, so it's not totally depressing. And if you do have fuller breasts, obviously you need bras that hug the curvature of your bosoms. I hope this video doesn't get demonetized. When you sew all the 4 pieces together, you can match them up and lay them on top of one another, right sides together, so that one side is the outside, the other side is the lining, and they should match up perfectly. But before sewing the lining and facing together, we're gonna do the bra straps out of those side seams. So I mentioned I cut them out with a little extra slack left over. My idea was to fold it under and then hem it down by sewing on top of one of these straight stitches that are already there. That way my stitches are basically invisible and just blend in. And this way the straps will have a clean edge and look nice and neat. However, later on we're gonna distress like the crap out of the shorts, and it's your choice if you want the bra to be distressed too. And if you do, you might not want to even bother hemming the straps at all. But this is what I did. I just stitched a couple of centimeters at a time and kept folding the slack under as it approached the needle. And by the way, I don't cut off any length on these straps. I'm just keeping them the longest length they were when I cut them off to make the shorts. And it turns out to be a perfect length in the end. So when you're done, whatever is the right side of the strap, face it down to face the right side of the bra and place it upside down so that the length of it is going in the opposite direction to what you would think. Then place the lining layer of the bra over top and pin everything together. Be sure to leave a couple of centimeters of the strap hanging out at the end in the corner like that, because we're now going to sew together the bra facing layer and the lining layer with the strap sandwiched in the middle. Then you're going to sew all up and down the sides of the triangle to secure the 2 layers, but keep the bottom third edge of the triangle totally open. And when you flip it inside out, voila, you have the left boob, the right boob, the straps attached to them, facing layer, lining layer, all attached. All that's left to do is the strap that goes around your underbust. So I measured out a length of 20 inches, which turned out to be a little bit long for me, and I folded the jean lengthwise and cut in about 3 inches, which is just the longest width that I was able to get with what fabric I had left. And I cut that out to make a rectangle, and since I cut it on a fold, I cut along the fold to get 2 20-inch by 3-inch strips that I can then connect them to make a 40-inch long strip. Cut one of them in half and then connect it along the width of the strip so that you have the one long strip in the middle and then 2 half strips on its side. That way the seams are on your sides, not on the front. And if you use a 1/2 inch of seam allowance, you'll take away 1 inch on both sides. So you end up with a 3-inch by 38-inch strip to go around your chest. And the 38 there just comes from the measurement around my underbust with a little bit of slack added onto that. I marked the center of the 38-inch long strip, and you want to lay it on top of your 2 boob parts, right sides together like this, so that the 2 boob parts kiss each other right on the center mark, and then pin them down. Before sewing though, check and make sure that the distance between the end of the bra and the seam of the strip is equal on both sides, just as another check to make sure it's completely symmetrical. Then I just sew with a straight stitch from one end of the bra to the end of the other. I'm not sewing along the entire 38 inches. Okay, so I had enough jean fabric to probably cut another strip to use as lining, but I didn't want to have like a Frankenstein piece of tons of scrap fabrics put together, so I'm going to use the shower curtain that I got. So I'll cut out a 38-inch by 3-inch strip, Part of my idea was to use this as like an accent piece and have another accessory made out of this material, but I didn't really follow through with that. If you don't want to use an extra strip of fabric, you could always just hem your strip and not add lining, but here's how you add the lining. So pin it to the right side of the strip that's made of denim and sew all along the top of the strap, which is the edge that we sewed onto the bra, the same edge we just sewed earlier to sew the boob pieces on. Sew all 38 inches or whatever length you use on a 1/2 inch of seam allowance so that when you sew over the middle where the bra is sewn on, you're stitching right over top of those stitches. Then you're gonna cut away the excess seam allowance down to like 1/4 inch. Next, you have to sew it to the bottom edge of the strip as well, but the boob parts are there. Luckily, there's no padding in the boob pieces, so they're very flexible, and if the strap is wide enough, which obviously depends on how much fabric there was with your jeans, you can actually tuck them inside the strap and just sew it very carefully. Then you just turn the whole thing inside out by pulling on the bra straps, and this might take a little bit of time, but then in the end your seams will all be magically hidden inside and nowhere to be seen. Just take an iron to the strap to flatten the seams. So I tried it on off camera to see how much excess fabric there was when the ends of the strap met in the back, and I cut off the excess so that the ends just barely kissed. You want to use these bra back closures you can get at the fabric store. I'm not very good at putting them on, but I pinned them in to get an idea of how they will fit together and what side they need to be sewed on. On one side, I tucked in the raw edges of my fabric and inserted the eyes, or I guess the female ends of the closure, and sewed that down with a zigzag stitch. And then the hook, or the male end of the closure, I sewed onto the other end. Sorry I can't be more detailed. I don't even think I'm doing it right, to be honest. So the bra goes on like this, and the straps that I made out of the jean seams just tie together in the back. That's it for the bra. Let's do the shorts, which is going to be a lot easier. I started out by using tweezers to pluck at all the raw edges and pull out the white threads as much as I could, purposefully fraying the fabric. Then you can cut some horizontal lines like you were just scratched horizontally by a tiger. The first person who that ever happened to must have been like, this is a look. Then you fray those edges by tweezing them just like before. And I'm not going any higher than the belt loops. I pretty much keep those untouched. I also don't mess up the pockets because I find those useful. And denim is a twill woven fabric, meaning the ribs are all diagonal and the warp threads are blue and the weft threads are white. Basically, there are a bunch of white threads going in one direction and blue threads that are all going perpendicular to the white. If you make 2 horizontal cuts, you can pull out the blue threads, which are going straight up and down, and by fully pulling them out one by one, like you pretend you're literally a doctor doing heart surgery, you're gonna expose all the white threads that are running horizontally, and that's what's happening here. Now, I'm not an expert at all. I'm pretty sure there's a good explanation for this, but I found the blue threads were the most like plain thread, whereas the white threads had the stretch in them. So they looked more frayed, more curly, more wild. So if you expose a whole row of them, you can pull at them, rip them out. It just totally adds to the aesthetic. I decided to do a little distressing on the bra as well, and I messed up because in my head it was like, okay, blue threads go vertically, white horizontally, but obviously the bra pieces were all cut arbitrarily. I just laid down the pattern pieces in whatever orientation would fit, so the directions are all going to be messed up. So you can pick at it a little to try to work out what direction the white and blue threads are going. If you look at it very closely, you can actually tell without even touching it at all. And when you do, you can use that trick of cutting against the blue threads so you can pull them out and expose the white threads. So when I was happy with the amount of distressing I did, I sprayed a little bit of bleach on them. I threw them in the wash with no detergent, just water, hung them to dry overnight, and let's see the finished look. And we're back! Okay, so I did leave things to dry overnight, and this is how it came out. It got a little bit lighter, which is sort of what I wanted. I didn't bother bleaching it a second time because I don't really need it to be lighter than this, but I'm happy with the result. And I think I got lucky that the pair of jeans I started out with were already kind of, it had a design to it. It wasn't one homogeneous color, so things already did look distressed a little bit from the get-go. Anyway, here is how it looks from the back. I feel like I'm about to wash somebody's car or like pick some strawberries in the field with Bobby Lou. Yeah, I made this belt. Maybe this is a video for another day, but if you see, like, without the belt, you just see all of my leggings up here, which is why I said earlier on I sort of wish I got a more high-waisted jean, but I sort of just pull it up and really cinch it tight with this belt. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you liked this video and that you learned something cool, got some ideas. Let me know if you want me to continue the series of these thrift store transformations, and if you have any particular ideas, let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you're all doing well, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!